everybody, it's your old pal Steve Moore here, owner of Run More, the spectacular brick and mortar running shop located in Westminster, Maryland. Today we have a very big shoe review. It is the Brooks Ghost 16. This shoe comes out in May of 2024, and let's just real quick dive into some of the specs on this shoe. This guy is coming in at $140. On the men's side, it weighs 9.5 ounces. On the women's side, it's 8.5 ounces. It has a 12 millimeter drop, and the stack height on the big end is 25 millimeters. This shoe is an everyday neutral trainer, and it features Brooks' DNA Loft V3 nitrogen injected midsole. So that right there is sort of a mouthful and a big deal. You know, the Brooks Ghost, for a lot of people, we were trying to think of a good way to describe it. I was calling it a gateway shoe. You know, the Brooks Ghost for so many people was like that introduction into a real running shoe. You know, and I think it's such a shoe that's readily available, you know, not in a bad way, but like, you know, it's sort of ubiquitous in just running and running shops and Dick's Sporting Goods and you name it. Like, it's that shoe that usually leads a display. It has a ton of colors and widths and all kinds of stuff to it because it's just an awesome trainer. And really, it needed to be freshened up a little bit. Version 15 was like pretty close to version 14, which was pretty close to version 13. And like, I totally understand if you're a big brand and like that perspective of this shoe is a really good shoe for us. And there's such a really die-hard following to it, is that you don't want to disrupt the apple cart too much because you might shake off some of the people that have loved this shoe for so long. But really, at least for us in the shop, the last few iterations, as far as just overall sales, have started to shrink, you know, and it's not so much that the Brooks Ghost became like a bad shoe, but so many other shoes in that category made big advancements and big changes, and the Ghost seemed to be lagging behind. And even in Brooks' just overall family of shoes, they had some really big injection shoes and some big model updates, and the Ghost was one of the last ones that we've seen here that like needed a big update. So having the nitrogen infused midsole was sort of a big step for them. And really, you know, we've seen a couple other models from Brooks that have added the nitrogen infused midsole specifically for us, like the Glycerin. When the Glycerin 21 came out and the 20 came out and they started using that nitrogen infused midsole, the majority of our customer base really liked that additional stack height and a little extra cushion to the shoe, and the Ghost was just sort of trailing behind on not doing that. So this is the first time they've added the nitrogen infused midsole, and I can feel it as soon as I put it on. You know, I got to go run in the shoe this morning, so it's sort of fresh on my mind, and I have run in pretty much every version of the Ghost. I was trying to think if there's any that I hadn't really put some miles in, and it's like, I'm sure somewhere along I have, but I've really run, you know, and if you've been a long time runner, you've probably run a lot of miles in Ghosts over the years. I have found my just personal self, like I said, haven't been running in it as much over the years because it just kind of felt like an everyday trainer, and not a knock on it because there's still a lot of people that just want an everyday trainer. And as there's been so much technological advancements in midsoles and geometry and all of that, people have started to kind of get away that we've seen in here in those traditional midsole trainers. And like for myself, I like something that has a little more bounce to it, a little more just pizzazz to it, and this shoe just feels sort of like Old Faithful. Now, coming from the 15, there were some things that I really liked and noticed right away from the 16. Like specifically for me, I found the fit was awesome on the 16. Like I put it on, I was like, this is a luxurious amount of room for it, for my foot, and I have a sort of a wider foot. I've got some bunion issues, like who's a lifelong runner doesn't have like a jacked up foot. And so a lot of times I do oscillate between standard and wide, but I was so happy with the fit on the 16 popping it in. And also we noticed right away, they widened the base out a little bit. You know, this actually, it's not like a straight last, but we're comparing against a 15. It has just a little bit additional ground coverage here, specifically along the heel. So I found myself, I'm somebody who like heavily rolls to the outside. I felt much more stable on the lateral side in version 16 compared to 15. And that extra ground coverage certainly helped with it. You know, just by giving ourselves a little more width back there, it accommodated my foot well, and I felt more stable in the shoe. Even though the shoe really isn't supposed to be a stable shoe, I kind of felt it right away. It also has just a little bit softer of a toe off for it. It's not like this has a meta rocker platform. There's nothing like in the geometry of this shoe that's going to give you a little more roll to it, but just sort of walking around in a 15 and a 16, as I tend to do on review days, is I'll do like a lot of stupid shoe stuff in it just for you fine folks at home, and I could hear myself a little more clap clap in the 15, and the 16 was a little bit more smooth and glidey. And you know, part of that I think is just the softer midsole here. It's designed to have a little more pop to it, and you can kind of hear it and feel it. Now on my runs, I didn't feel tons of pop in it. And again, there's a lot of people that don't want to have that feeling that the shoe is doing too much work for them. There are those people that when the glycerin made that change to get the nitrogen infused midsole to it, they almost missed the old sort of like sturdy, steady feel of an old glycerin. And I kind of can see why, you know, for me, I preferred the midsole of the 16 versus the 15, but I'm sure there's going to be ardent Ghost fans that are like, now we're starting to get too poofy, and now we're starting to get like some of the other big blue shoe boxes that we carry here at the store where everything's getting puffier and bigger. But you know, some people still like that like get in and sort of rock solid feel that some of the old Ghost had. And this definitely felt a little bit softer, not overly soft, not like marshmallow soft, but just a pinch softer to the 15. We called this shoe sort of a gateway shoe, and you know, there's so many shoes out there now, and some of them have so many like different performance feels to it and such. But if like we're looking still for somebody who comes in that's like, look, I'm a casual runner, I'm a gym guy, I do some lifting, I do some cardio, I wear, you know, a shoe to work that's a running shoe, like I just need a shoe to do a little bit of everything. You're not going to do a whole lot better than the Ghost 16 in general. You know, it really is a shoe that you can do almost everything in. And as we're getting into shoes that are so soft or have more performance midsoles or have rockers, there might be things that those type of shoes are good for, but there's a lot of stuff they're not good for. But like, honestly, the Ghost, it's an awesome shoe. For 140 bucks, and you can do virtually anything in it. Pretty great value for this shoe. If you're somebody who's like, I'm just gonna be doing all my running into it, that's fine too. There's no reason you can't. It's a running shoe, it's a Ghost, it's great. There might be some more fun pizzazz shoes out there, but just for a rock steady shoe to do a little bit of everything, pretty great shoe right here. And the fit is great. Just the little tweaks that they made, I think are gonna be good. And for us, we're expecting to, you know, probably our Ghost sales to kind of come back up after we've seen sort of diminished returns on our investment in the Ghost over the past couple of years. And obviously the fit's gonna help. I think just aesthetically, they did a great job in it. You know, and and I'm not talking about just for myself. Obviously, I know nothing about fashion. I mean, honestly, look at me. But when we're looking at colors in advance, when we're booking shoes 6 months, 9 months out, we are thinking about our customer base. And there are certainly times when we're looking and booking at shoes where it's like, holy crap, every selection this brand put out on new model XYZ is hot garbage. But the Ghost has a lot of, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a shoe from the Ghost family that doesn't line up with your own personal style preferences. So that's also nice. Also, it comes in a lot of width options, including a narrow. So if this feels too wide for you, you can on both men's and women's find a narrow cut, and you can find a wide, and on the men's you can find a super wide. So it gives you a lot of options on your width. But quite honestly, for me and my BFF, Big Fat Foot, it fit me perfect. If anything, it was almost a pinch longer than I expected. So if you are somebody who sort of can find yourself feeling a little bit long, you know, I'm gonna say 19% of people might find themselves scaling back a half size. So just think about it, because it definitely fit a pinch longer to a pinch wider than 15. Anyway, I really hope that helps. I had a good time running it this morning, and it was really fun to have a shoe that I've run in so many versions of, to be able to go back and sort of go through my mental Rolodex of how I felt through this one and kind of give it some comparisons. So I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've probably run in a Ghost at some point, and I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts. If you've been in a 16, leave it down below in the comments, and I just love checking on them and seeing what people's feedback is and see if it lines up with our thoughts on it. If you want to purchase this fine shoe, guess what? You can save 10% by clicking the link down below, entering promo code RUNMORE, just RUNMOORE. You'll save 10%. We'll ship it out for free. And if you find yourself in the greater Westminster, Maryland area, hey, we got a great shop here with all kinds of fun shoes. Stop by, say hello. There's a good chance you'll see me while I'm here. And as Brooke says, happy running, and we'll see you around town. Thanks.